What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Engadget Podcast live stream. I'm Senior Editor Devindra Hardawar. Today I'm joined with Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe. Hey, Sherlyn.
Hi, apologize for the kind of strange look right now. The sun has somehow...
You know, if you highlight the issue, Sherlyn, I feel like that's when people focus. But it's fine. It's totally fine. And podcast producer Ben Ellman. Hey, Ben.
Be sure to listen to the audio episode this week. We have something really cool.
We have something really special. I mean, I'll talk about it here. Hello, people in the chat room. Hello, Aromatic Snail. I love that name. Peter Lee, Freddie? I don't know. We are doing something a little different this week. Freddie. We have a good audio interview with the creator of Tetris and his friend who helped, bring it to the rest of the world. So that's going to be a fun interview, but we can't do it in the live stream. So I will mention it. We'll queue it up and then just download the audio podcast to hear that. And then we'll just go straight into our other news. How's everybody doing this morning? Sister Satan, my other favorite username.
Christopher Reard. Hey, it's Christopher. I know Christopher. Where's the mute button on this app? It's so bad.
Y'all. And I gotta admit, I watched the trailer for the Tetris movie just yesterday, and
fun trailer.
It looks good.
It's a fun trailer. It's a messy movie. Actually, my review just went up too, so you guys can go read that on the thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll go check that out. But I think that it's
good trailer. I wish the movie lived up to the good trailer. Michael Skinner points out the big problem with AI is hardwiring empathy. I would say the big problem with empathy is bringing it to humanity. I mean, we assume it's an expected thing, but turns out not true for a lot of people.
Isn't empathy a relative thing too?
Mm-hmm. What is empathy if you are an all-knowing, basically immortal creature? You know, why should you have empathy for us meatbags? That is a constant AI problem.
Precisely what gets people scared about Rocco's basilisk.
I mean, everything. The movie Ex Machina, I think, explored that well. Are you okay, Sherlyn?
I was coughing again for some reason. Hi to Mike Kavi Raj, who's pinging us from... You're brand new, really. S23 Ultra.
Oh, boy.
Tyler Evans says good morning. Simon Kalu says hi from Nigeria.
We love hearing where people are watching from. Thank you, Simon.
Hello.
And Freddie says I'm already losing it. This is true. Yes, I am.
This is true.
I went to bed at 3 a.m. yesterday because I had to try to finish a draft.
No, that's fun. Yeah, Michael Skinner, think of seeing someone hurt, you see a turtle on the ground, it's overturned, do you pick it up?
That's literally the Voight-Kampff test.
Yep. We shall see. This is going to be a good conversation, and we'll be talking about that AI development letter as well. That's actually the first thing we'll talk about. That's why the title of the YouTube stream is not the Tetris chat. But hello, everybody. I think we can get going. Is everybody good to go?
Yes, we're also going to be talking about the Restrict Act. Everybody really... tune in for the talk about the Restrict Act because it's spooky.
It's spooky. There's a lot of things. And you know what, Ben? It sounds like you have read quite a bit about that too. So if you want to chime in during that segment, because I feel like you've been following some of this stuff too. Feel free. Yeah. Okay,
so we're going to get started. And the last thing that we do before we actually get started is we're going to do a sync. We're going to do a clap. Longtime chat members know what we're going to do. If this is your first time here, we're just going to count down from 3, and then everybody's going to make a sound. Clap your hands, snap your fingers. You can do it in the chat also. We love seeing the clap emojis in the chat. Then we're going to get into it. So, counting down from 3, 2, 1, and a little bit of silence. During the silence, hit that thumbs up button. It helps people see us on YouTube. Okay, silence over. Let's get into it.
Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that bell to get the reminders.
Hello to Kylo Tech, by the way, who's in Penn Station. Holy crap!
I'm sure this is more interesting than whatever's happening around you at Penn Station. So good luck there.
Like looking at the train schedule to see what track you have to run to. Probably.
Oh man, that is not. I mean, I'd rather be in Penn than Port Authority. So
Michael Skinner, all your questions, by the way, about all of the AIs having to watch an accident or empathy and everything, I'd say look at the Engadget YouTube channel tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got a lot of
just
things
stay tuned.
about that. Honestly, we've got a lot of good coverage around that. Andy Tarantola has already written quite a bit too about like how AIs are kind of affecting us, and this is all stuff that's been talked about before. Anyway, let's get into the show. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardawar.
I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
This week, we have a special treat for you guys. We have an interview with the creator of Tetris and his good friend who helped bring it to the rest of the world. And we've also got a discussion around a few things. That AI development letter that came down supposedly from several tech leaders, certainly from Elon Musk, and a whole bunch of other news. As always, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to the Engadget Podcast on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes and drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. You can join us Thursday mornings on our YouTube channel around 10:30 a.m. Eastern for a live stream of the show. And you can see our faces, put some, faces to the voices. We sometimes show off gadgets, and we often just talk to the chat room too. So if you want to grab some coffee, sit down with us, it's a fun time. So normally, I feel like we leave interviews on the show towards the end so we can have a good conversation around news and everything, but this is a pretty big one. This week I got to chat with Alexei Pajitnov and Hank Rogers. Alexei is the guy who created Tetris in the Soviet Union back in the 80s, or was that maybe late 70s? I talked to them both around the new Tetris movie that's coming to Apple TV Plus this weekend. I'll be talking about my thoughts about the movie later on in this episode, and you can read my review over at Engadget. But you know what? We had a great chat around this movie and Tetris's legacy, and I think it's a really interesting discussion. So take a listen. Okay. Let us know your thoughts about... Okay. Let me come out of the interview and go into other news. Thanks again to Alexei and Hank for that chat. And you know what? Let us know your thoughts about Tetris or this movie, because I'm sure many people are going to be watching it this weekend. Podcast@engadget.com. Let's move on to some other news. And I feel like the big thing we saw this week, Sherlyn, is this letter that came out from the future of... what is it exactly? The Future of Life Institute issued a letter signed by Elon Musk and a whole bunch of other notable people in tech asking for a 6-month pause on AI development beyond GPT-4. And GPT-4 is the thing that was just recently announced. And I feel like when I first saw this news, I was like, hey, yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about on the Engadget podcast. We've been saying we're kind of hurtling into this stuff too quickly, and maybe we should sit and think back about the ethical and, societal ramifications of all this stuff. What was your first thought about hearing this, Sherlyn? Because it gets more complicated.
I think I saw a lot of the tweets around it, and it was just headline level scrutiny for me. And 6-month pause, it just seems a lot like panic to me. It seems like, oh no, everything, but I wouldn't say it's completely unfounded panic. I think you can tell, obviously, every major tech company is looking into inserting generative AI into their products, and almost willy-nilly just opening it up to the public because of this weird competition to beat each other to the punch. And so I think a pause is warranted in this case, kind of hey, sit and think,
discussion
what
of
are
a
we
pause.
doing? Why are we? Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea.
I feel like it sounds reasonable on the face of it, but pretty quickly after this letter dropped, a lot of people were like, hey. Elon Musk does not do anything altruistically. Okay, what is Elon Musk getting out of this? And then a lot of people started pointing out that, the OpenAI, the organization, was initially co-founded by Musk. He donated $10 million to them back in 2015, and there was a point, as many articles point out, Forbes has one from Matt Novak, where Elon Musk was getting frustrated with the development of AI at OpenAI, and around 2018, he was basically pushing Sam Altman to take full control of the company, and Musk himself was pushed out by Altman and the board. And actually now, whenever I write about OpenAI, and if I mention oh yeah, this thing founded by Musk and Sam Altman, I almost always get a letter from OpenAI saying, hey, Elon Musk is not involved anymore. You don't need to mention him like that, or at least he's not a current person involved with it. But it sounds like Elon Musk, this is the thing where he's oh, you guys have actually progressed pretty quickly. And meanwhile, Elon Musk and Tesla are kind of working on their own AI solutions. It's something they need for self-driving, for the robot, for so many other things. This almost seems like one of those things like a playground game, like, oh man, you're too far ahead. Please slow down. Please slow down so I can catch up. Please, please, please. Does it feel like that to you, Sherlyn?
No, more the thought I was about to go on to was that I don't know what a pause is supposed to look like, right? A pause on out of control AI experiments. What does that mean? You mean
it means pause development?
Are you saying everybody say pause, but are we really sure people are going to stop doing it in the background? Like, just because they're not publicly having or running these AI experiments doesn't mean people are not running, neural nets or machine learning algorithms in the background. No, you can tell me to try to pause, like. Let's hypothetically say this. Oh, nationwide pause on selfies. Okay, sure.
Okay. Well, it's more
still
like
taking my selfies.
It's weirdly like not even is the thing. Like he's saying pause on development beyond GPT-4, the thing you're so great at. That does not mean Tesla and other companies are pausing on their AI that is not up to the level of GPT-4. It is basically saying, hey, give us time to catch up, guys. Can we play fair here?
Right.
There has been a lot of response from people actually in the AI community who I think kind of break all this down pretty well. My favorite thread is from Ali Al-Khatib, who points out, number one, lots of trash interspersed in the letter, which is true. The letter sort of... it paints the sort of like doomsday scenario of AI potentially like destroying humanity and doing bad things. And Ali and other people have pointed out, like, the AI right now is already bad. It's already potentially causing harm. So maybe we should focus on that. Point two, the org is bad. This company, this organization, the Future Institute, it is a long-termism company. It's one of those organizations that is always talking about like what humanity needs to do to prepare for the future, make as much money as possible so you can spend it on things in the future or be ready for the future. We've talked about this before. Not really a great, I would say, social philosophy right now. Ali also points out lots of false signatories on the letter. Bill Gates did not actually sign it. It seemed like it was kind of just open for everybody to sign it. And the other main thing, he says, wake me up when there's a letter that doesn't center a bunch of old white dudes who got rich on this tech. That's it. Drop mic scenario. Knowing like the actual community response to this, Sherlyn, like, how do you see this letter? And like, do you think how do we actually have this societal conversation and this like ethical, I don't know, interrogation about AI?
I think the fact that there were people like straight up pretending to be Bill Gates signing this thing shows you. I'm like, yeah, no, this thing is sus. It's to quote Married at First Sight Australia, the recap show that I watched. Quote that, this is susso. It's very suspicious, and I'm just not convinced about the motivations. I think all you use the part you referenced. It's a very good point, right? I also want to point out KP in our live stream chat also says like pause. How kind of pause like going back to the thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is it a 6-month vacation for employees at OpenAI? Like is that what they're talking about? So it is very suspicious. The motivations don't seem sound. It is, however, I think their motivations might not have been sound, but the output isn't a bad one. The idea isn't a bad one to kind of like take a breather. What that looks like, I don't know. I think maybe more of panels and conversations around the ethical side of things, or like limiting a lot of these like open to the public types of experiments. And
maybe don't immediately start rolling it out into all of your products like immediately. I guess I feel like that's the thing. Microsoft's like, you get some AI. Office, you get AI. Microsoft cybersecurity,
as has
tools. Google.
Yeah. As has Google, right? Like it's both of them. It's both of them adding it into their entire suite of like Office / productivity tools. And then I think other big names are coming up with more too. So we're just like, yeah, it's getting out of hand a little too fast. It feels like one person said we can do this, and everyone's like, we have to do this too. It's a competition thing that doesn't feel right.
It's a weird race. Like, yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's sort of like the entire tech world has been waiting for the next big thing. Like we had smartphones, right? Wearables were never quite the thing. Wearables were interesting and big, not as big as like the iPhone, right? And we're still waiting for that iPhone moment, and it feels like, as we've discussed it, like AI is legit that thing that can transform how we use tech in our society, but it also feels like we are rushing into, we're already on like the iPhone 5 version of AI without like thinking about like how this stuff is actually interacting with us. So anyway, we'll be following all this. That letter is a really fun thing to look into now, just in terms of like thinking about the motivations behind it. And read about long-termism and the potential harm that could be doing to us, because it's a whole. We talked about this around Sam Bankman-Fried, Jerlyn, like, do you remember that discussion? Because it's very
yes
weird.
You mean this was Binance? No, this was what was the one that he, not the crypto one,
the crypto guy
FTX.
FTX.
FTX, thank you.
That fell apart. Binance also fell apart around that time, so that is why you're thinking about that.
Yes.
But yeah,
Exactly.
it is the idea. It's the philosophy of focusing on like the future impact of future humans, seemingly ignoring the humans who exist right now who need a lot of help.
I will say this, right? I think that with a lot of trends and a lot of fads, I think you'll notice that we as people covering the developments in the industries can tell if something is moving too fast with no real like direction. So wearables is like everyone was jumping on the wearables train, everyone was jumping on this, crypto. Oh my god, all the most annoying people were jumping on crypto, blockchain, all
a
that
lot
stuff.
of money was involved there, so that
Right.
it was a
and
thing.
it was exactly, there was a lot of money. I'm not saying it was a pipe, but there's a lot of this stuff that came and everyone hyped up really hard. At least in recent memory, I know that I was like extremely skeptical about how quickly it would take over, how the mainstream audience would take to it. I think though with AI, I'm just like, this is groundbreakingly different. It's going to impact all of us in a bigger way than crypto could ever. So
we all have like a spidey sense, right? Like I feel like all the tech reporters and people following the technology industry, some people just want to make money, right? Some people just want to make money from like speculative futures and what crypto could mean, or what what NFTs really are. And some people are just like, well, they're trying to make bank on whatever the next big thing is. I do feel like not to toot our own horn, but we kind of have a sense of like, oh man, this feels bad.
Yeah.
This feels weird. So anyway, we're going to be following all of that. And in other news that feels a little iffy and weird, as we were discussing things last week during our last episode, TikTok CEO, as we talked, Shou Chu was testifying before Congress. That was going on for a while, and it was not a very pretty sight. I saw some people asking him like, does TikTok access our Wi-Fi? Like their Wi-Fi in their home? Like, yeah, dude,
that explains a tweet I got.
What does it explain?
Someone made a joke in response to a tweet I made about joining group chats or not, and the tweet was saying, "Oh, does joining a group chat connect to your home Wi-Fi?" I did not get it until you just explained.
That is the joke, and I forget the TikTok CEO response, but it was a little like, yeah, that's how this works. It's sort of. I remember when somebody was asking Zuckerberg, how does Facebook make money? And it was like, Zuckerberg was like, we distribute ads. That is the thing that's going on. One thing we want to quickly mention is two different things, the Data Act and the Restrict Act, both of which are kind of spinning up right now. We've actually talked about the Data Act before, because that was the legislation we were saying could give President Biden the power to block TikTok. And I'm reading from Lawfare blog right here. I'm just going to read a direct quote because I think they explained it well. The Data Act would provide the president with more authorities to block transactions associated with the import or export of American sensitive data, in quotes, where there are national security risks. There's also the Restrict Act, and that's something you've probably heard a bit about too. That was introduced on March 7th, and that is the one where people are talking about it could potentially make VPNs illegal, or at least that was the like discussion around it, because I think people just started reading the act and started maybe misinterpreting some rules around it. Turns out that's not actually true. The Daily Dot has a great explainer. It's called "You Will Not Be Jailed for 20 Years If You Use TikTok After It's Banned, Despite Internet Fear-Mongering." What seems to have been happening is a lot of like crypto bros. People have been reading parts of this bill. Things are getting shared around out of context. It doesn't seem like this will jail you just for using a VPN, but potentially if that VPN is based in China, like a lot of the fear mongering around these things, like then potentially you may have to find something else. The actual fines and everything just seem entirely made up. So there's a lot of things going on here. It does seem like politically, Sherlyn, both Democrats and Republicans are sort of down with the idea of banning TikTok or adding more controls. AOC has had her own response to, which she posted on TikTok. Love it. But she was more like, we need national privacy laws. That's what we need. We need data protection.
Yep.
We need actual privacy stuff. What is your take on all this?
Fully agree with what AOC said. I think that AOC made a very good point, which is that TikTok's just one app and it sets a precedent. There's so many different apps that could be surveilling you, whether or not they're from China. This is a problem. Like, yes, China could be insidious.
It is a problem.
As a Singaporean person, yeah. I'm telling you, as a Singaporean person, the Chinese government is like something we openly talk about in Singapore, where like there's a lot of corruption that goes on in China. We're like, whatever. And so I'm not like in defense of China here, but who like Russian apps could also be spying on you if there's, you know, if there any is ever
everything's kind of blocked from Russia at this point because of
everyone. So AOC's point being that like it's not about, you know, this one app. It's about having a dedicated, I guess, committee that has regulations and people who are informed about these issues being on the board, as opposed to people who don't even know how home Wi-Fi works grilling the TikTok CEO,
which is what happens every time. Yeah.
Exactly.
When Zuckerberg was up there, people were asking him about their apps too, right? Their iPhone apps,
their emails, or why are my emails not being seen or something, right? There was something like that.
Say what you will about GDPR and those annoying cookie requests we get on many websites, but that legislation has pushed a lot of companies to think harder about how they're collecting people's data and using people's data. And I think the main, the like broader point is the TikTok ban misses the point when we should be doing the same sort of like protections for users across Facebook and Google and everybody.
Yeah.
Too. So
it's like, what are you going to ban every ad that you're uncomfortable with moving forward? Because again, this would set a precedent. Again, I do not use TikTok. I do not give a crap if it gets banned or not. It doesn't impact my personal life, but it's the precedent setting.
Were you still anti, like, I do recall, like you were not hot on TikTok early on. You were definitely anti TikTok for a while. So I'm trying to.
I just don't have. Yeah, I know. I'm not anti. I just don't. I have it on my phone. I don't use it. It's not sucked me in, I guess, right? It's not one of the things I scroll every day. I maybe like go in to play with some of the filters that I saw online.
Yeah, the filters are fun.
Pretty much it.
I think also we saw Senator Josh Hawley also try to just like straight up introduce a TikTok ban. It was Rand Paul who kind of struck him down, which is a very weird thing. As producer Ben points out, the worst person you know just made a really good point. I never want to praise Rand Paul, but here we go. So anyway, that is a whole thing, and it's a bit of dry news, but we are seeing a lot of things like come up as people talk about a TikTok ban. And personally, it just feels like to me that misses the point, even though, yes, we should be worried about what all these companies are doing, especially a Chinese company is doing with our data. I still use TikTok every day. My daughter, that is kind of the thing I use to just chill with my daughter before bath time or something, where we just watch our videos. It's very cool and cute, and it is less of a lift than YouTube, which is, I think, the big thing. Like we keep talking about like, oh, the ease of access for content is the thing that makes it happen. And with TikTok, you know, you open it up and you're getting videos recommended to you, and that is the main thing. I see Ben asking, what's up?
I was going to say, I am now reminded of a documentary from, I think it was Tribeca last year that we talked about, called TikTok Boom, right? Yep. And it's just reminding me now that, like, again, this was a lot, like, I remember at the time, it was a fine documentary. It did take too many artistic liberties. It did bend facts a lot, and I did not enjoy that part of it. And like, this is the danger of like not being very good about your facts about, like, as a documentarian. Be like, if I wonder how many people actually saw the documentary and was like, oh god, like, again, TikTok is something that like could be very insidious, but also not to the point where this documentary straight up said this thing is scanning your face and looking at your expressions and then tweaking its algorithm. I'm like, you wouldn't know if your camera was turned on.
No. Depends. We will talk about spyware.
If you're using
they can do that.
We can talk about that.
Later.
If it's bypassing the indicator, it's not supposed to. This should be system level status indicators about
there's a lot of
access to
weird
your mic and cameras.
Yeah.
So that's
I would say, like, I don't know. We haven't really like fully talked about TikTok yet, but I think it is a really interesting app, sort of like an offshoot of like what was so good about Vine, but really easy, quick videos that people are doing a lot of really cool, creative stuff with it. To me, that is the thing. It's like these platforms that people can express themselves more on and more easily, I think, are really fascinating.
But
Ben
also,
is asking.
Yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
Ben is asking, is my algorithm trained for Sophia safe videos, video safe for my daughter? Do I ever get inappropriate videos? It is mostly good. Like, it's mostly like cute animal stuff. She's really into like these like weird gardens, the sort of like self-contained gardens where people put little things together. So I think I'm gonna have to get her one of those eventually. Occasionally I have to skip away from like if people are swearing. It's never anything too scary. There are some of those like weird horror, like mini horror movie things, and I've just kind of trained those away. So and TikTok does have a restricted mode, which kind of filters out a lot of explicit stuff too. But yeah, your algorithm kind of suits you. What's up, Sherlyn? What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say that TikTok is also, dangerous in the sense that, like, in the same way Instagram Reels and Instagram was dangerous for our self-esteem and all of that stuff, all the social issues around that. TikTok is getting, as more and more people use it, getting more and more influential on how people, young people, impressionable people view their bodies, view their self-worth. And, a lot of talk around how the filters there are just a little too real at this point. It's all worth looking at.
It's all worth
although
looking
I
at.
would say that's not
similar
to the issue of banning an app like TikTok. That's not a TikTok only issue. This is like we would be like if we said ban Instagram or ban TikTok because it's causing teens to have self-esteem problems. It's the same thing here. If you're saying TikTok should be banned because of privacy issues, you're ignoring the larger issue and focusing on the one player in this bigger game.
We should do an episode on that at some point, because I'm also seeing like interesting pushback from research that's saying that may not be as true as we initially thought. Like, people were scaling back like teen suicide rates and teen rates before the 2000s. And interesting, there was a big drop after the 90s, and it wasn't necessarily like the rise wasn't necessarily related to social apps. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but that's definitely a good point. So we will be talking about that at some point. I briefly mentioned the spyware thing. Sherlyn, apps aren't supposed to use your front facing camera without the indicator or something, but some can. And these are from things called commercial spyware, and it's software that intelligence agencies in other countries usually buy to do nefarious things on your phone, such as when your phone is on sleep, it could be listening to your audio. Or if it could just turn on your webcam without the indicator. We did see news the Biden administration bans they're banning federal agencies from using commercial spyware. So that's stuff from like the NSO group, which we've talked about before. This is more like high level intelligence stuff. This is not like the spyware that just like is trying to take over your computer to, generate money with ads or something. This is stuff being used to fully just spy on people, like literally spy on people. We've done some coverage around this. I've written about the Alex Gibney documentary about commercial spyware as well. This stuff is dangerous. It does feel like you could do so much with it. We've seen China, actually, that is a big thing the Chinese government is doing to hack into U.S. systems, and we've seen several reports of that. Biden is saying the federal agencies can't use it. That doesn't mean some covert ones won't end up using them somehow. It's just kind of the public-facing statement. Any thoughts, Sherlyn?
I mean, covert agencies are going to do what covert agencies are going to do. Like the NSA is going to keep spying on you if they want to, and they're going to like claim Patriot Act or whatever.
Well, they don't need they don't need to buy commercial spyware.
They're already the ones making.
That they've already.
It's already. They're in the air. You know what I mean? I think C in the chat makes a good point. Everyone needs to trust themselves and live a life of bravery and freedom. I think the point that C is making here is that like I'm at a point where maybe I shouldn't feel this way, and maybe I shouldn't, I should demand better. But I'm at a point where like, I'm like, all right, you want to spy on me, spy on me. Like, I'm a very boring person. I think for the most part, right, I don't have a lot of sensitive information that it needs to be like stolen other than credit card info or whatever. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be that way. I'm just saying that I'm not. I don't care. Spy on me. Go ahead. I already live my life like I'm in the Truman Show.
You're already posting way too much. So
I'm already like, here, have more of me. You want me? Have more of me. It's out there. And then,
that is certainly an attitude. I'm certainly like, I'm not worried about TikTok spying on me or doing location data or something. But if I were working in a government agency, and if my location could reveal something that could be potentially like useful to the Chinese government, then I'd be thinking twice.
Absolutely.
And,
there are people for whom like this stuff is definitely a big problem. Like you don't want to be tracked. You don't want to be like, you're doing whatever. It's your life. But we
got to be
by
aware
and large,
of all threats.
I think,
Oh man. Well, okay. We've got some other news that's less, I don't know, less exciting, I guess. But we did see a report. How do you feel about the core of Windows, Sherlyn? The core of Windows 12. Does that sound exciting to you? Like
No.
spyware?
I want to go work my core.
You want to work your core?
Do a plank.
I mean, listen. Okay, so Windows Central had this report. Microsoft is working on something called Core PC that could end up showing up in Windows 12, which is a way to sort of like kind of break apart the way Windows works right now. So Windows is an old school OS. Windows 11 still has to work with apps that were written for Windows 95 and Windows 98. There are a lot of like old school apps that still work within Windows. When you install Windows, the actual system folders and everything are on the same drive and the same partition as your files. On most laptops, on something like, unless you're making your own drive partitions or doing that, that leaves everything pretty exposed. That makes it really hard to update the system compared to the way iOS or Android works. So Core PC is this idea, according to this report, for Microsoft to kind of like break that up, put Windows, the system, the OS itself on a separate partition. It would allow them to potentially scale Windows 12 to different sorts of devices too, sort of like if they want to have a Chromebook competitor, they could have a super light version of Windows, you know? So
How many times have we heard of the
How many
Windows
times?
powered Chromebook competitor? How many times have we heard about this?
They totally exist. So this report also says this is sort of like what Microsoft was trying to do with Windows 10X. That is sort of like failed a plan to create like a lighter Windows for dual screen devices. That didn't end up happening, actually. It seems like Microsoft is going the other direction. So we saw Windows RT, we saw all these ways for Microsoft to build Windows for ARM chips, a really restricted version of the OS. It sounds like they're kind of going, rather than being from the most restrictive and moving on from there, they're trying to go from supporting everything, but sort of restricting how apps and things can access the system. So kind of interesting. And part of this news too, it looks like Microsoft is thinking about baking security into, baking AI into security for like the for IT providers. So that's something interesting as well. Hey man, AI everywhere. Windows 12. Are you ready for Windows 12, Sherlyn? Like, they're so exciting.
Fix Windows 11 first. Come on.
I feel like
I'm kidding.
I still feel like Windows 11. It's weird that came and went and is a thing now, and I'm looking down and my start menu, my taskbar is in the center of my screen. That's the only evidence that we've moved on from Windows 10. Yeah.
It's nice. The search is thankfully not too effed on new computers that shipped with Windows 11, but when I upgraded to Windows 11, like I used to do this, my workflow, right? Start button, a few letters of the app I'm looking for. So start button AUD for Audacity, right? Now on the older laptop that I had that just upgraded to Win 11, as opposed to the laptop that came with Win 11, now when I do that, it just disappears. The start menu does not like trigger the search at all, and then I have to retype, and then it always types the wrong thing in again. It's just
so Windows, like a fresh Windows 11 install can be really nice and snappy, but it does degrade pretty quickly. So yeah, Windows 12. It is weird. It does feel like Windows 10 did not have enough of a lifespan, but I guess time just moved quickly and we barely even noticed. Surely,
I mean, if 12 is on the horizon, isn't Windows 11 going to have a shorter lifespan?
Windows 11 has the shortest lifespan. I don't understand the numbering or anything anymore. Anyway, let's move on. There was another story, Sherlyn, you want to talk about. Google unveiled an AI-powered planning tool or tools to help beat climate change's extreme heat. Just a subhead here is that they'll spot heat islands, track tree canopy coverage, and push useful information in emergency notifications. What's up? Because you're the Googler and you love what Google always does, Sherlyn. So tell me.
I don't. Okay, so this is part of like Google's things that they do or roll out of nowhere. It used to be that they did earthquake detection with phones. They would do a lot of they did crash detection earlier as well. They made a very pointed dig at Apple at 1.io and at a Pixel event where Apple added that feature to all its phones. I think it was last year. But this is one of those things. Like Google knows it has a lot of data, knows it can use that data for good, I guess, and wants to target things like natural natural disasters, climate change, and this is part of that. I think we shouldn't get too hung up on the idea that this is AI powered. I think yes, AI is a very buzzy catchphrase right now, or buzzy.
Everything is AI powered. Go look at
it was always AI powered.
Go look at so many entrepreneur profiles on Twitter now. The people that were .eth are now like AI. I'm an AI founder. Oh, that's what I do.
Of course, those are the so-called early adopters. They're just a bandwagon abandoners. So yes, tree canopy is part of this. It just shows you kind of where it uses like high-res aerial images to kind of understand better what the tree canopy is in certain areas, and then it can display that on a map if you're using the Google Environmental Insights Explorer. So if that information is helpful to you, you can use that.
And this is more for civil servants and actual consumers, but still interesting.
Right. It's not. Exactly. These are tools that are not really for a lot of average users like you and me. I just wanted to point out that Google had a slate of announcements that our AI reporter Andy Tarantola helped cover. I do want to say there are more interesting things that came out this week, and more, I think, firmly in our wheelhouse. For example, Apple announced that WWDC this year, Worldwide Developer Conference, is taking place June 5th. So I guess I'll be there. I don't know yet. I don't have my invite that I know of yet.
You will probably be there, Sherlyn.
I will almost definitely be there.
I am hoping to be there. I'm just putting that out because this is the rumored one where the VR headset, or their first headset, is going to be shown off. So that could be interesting. There were also reports around MacBook changes potentially, and them talking about the new chips. So. Always
that would be a Squarely You event, and I would be there to be cute. Anyway,
well, they always talk about Mac OS and iOS, so there's always stuff for sure.
I'm always there for iOS and Wear OS. There's usually a lot of OS stuff for me to cover, so that's good to know, because then I can make my travel plans. I've got some in between May and June stuff I want to do.
Better than 5 days before the event. Please fly across the country. Thank you, Microsoft. Microsoft.
Unlike them. Yes, exactly. It's so nice to have some heads up. Yes. Okay. So, I mean, these are developer conferences. They have to let the developers know ahead of time to start buying tickets, that sort of stuff. Another piece of news this week is we learned that Overdrive is shutting down on May 1st. I don't know if you've ever heard of Overdrive, those of you tuning into the podcast, but it's one of those ebook lending or library apps. And I used to use Overdrive. It was powered by Rakuten, or it was part of Rakuten, who is affiliated with the company that makes the Kobo e-readers.
Rakuten basically owns Kobo. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And so that's how I knew of Overdrive, and I had a lot of books that I borrowed through there. You can use your local library card on Overdrive to get books. Here's the thing: when there's a much better app around like Libby, it's not really it's you're losing, right, to Libby. Libby is my preferred ebook library app. I can use multiple library cards on there. I adore the interface. It looks nice. The good news in all of this is that Overdrive, when you use it now, it will automatically redirect to Libby.
to Libby.
Just that's fine. Right? It's conceding. It's conceding that.
It's a reminder, by the way, that you can borrow ebooks from your library, folks.
Yes.
So go get your library cards, and you don't have to buy all the little books. I just got a Kobo reader, and because I was tired of having Kindles for a while, so I just want to see what that experience is like. It's very nice. It's very cute. And it's nice to. I just miss e-readers. I miss the e-ink, and my Kobo is beautiful. I love it.
The good news is, since you just bought your Kobo device, a Rakuten spokesperson explained to Engadget, or us, that switching from Overdrive to Libby on their end anyway, it will not affect you as a user on the library browsing, borrowing, and reading experience on Kobo e-readers.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
In other news, Disney's reportedly shutting down its metaverse division. Mariel Moon writes for Engadget. Wrote for us, just saying there was a story that from the Wall Street Journal that Disney shut down its metaverse division, laid off all the team's 50 or so members as part of a restructuring process. We have Disney is laying off a ton of workers right now. I believe up to 7,000. It's a large amount of workers, and that is the process of what's happening right now. it sounds like this metaverse division is going away as a thing, but like so many times what happens, that doesn't mean like they're not going to work in the metaverse anymore. It just means you don't need this whole like big segment of your company doing it. I feel like we don't actually talk about the metaverse anymore, and I don't think that's a real priority for
That was another hype
Meta.
train.
That was another hype train. And it was really, Meta went way too far. It was like, we're changing our name. We're banking on the future of the metaverse, and maybe called that shot too early, Zuck. I don't know. Do you have thoughts about Disney shutting this down, Trillin?
I was like, oh, they had a metaverse division.
They had a metaverse.
That was my. Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of isn't going to a Disney theme park. You're entering a metaverse. Like you're using a bracelet to tag into things. Reality disappears. You're surrounded by Disney characters. You could go to the Star Wars thing and live an entirely different planet, apparently. So I think
what you're describing tells us more that Well, I think it tells us more that people will always prefer an in-person experience as opposed to sitting at home or standing around at home with a VR headset on. I think I would always prefer going on an actual roller coaster ride than being on a fake one in VR. So
yeah,
Disney,
but you can do the fake one
from
your office. You know, it's fun. You don't have to go out.
No, I get nausea.
Oh man.
Julio, our live stream producer, points out, I just want a video game where I can do my grocery shopping and I can get a virtual experience over using my phone or going in real life. And then I'm assuming, Julio, you mean it would deliver to your door after you go around picking up fruits, yes?
Yeah, and you would virtually drive the delivery car to your door while you just have to sit in your office. It's great.
Oh my God, you're getting Julio way too excited. Julio's like, yes!
Never want to leave my house again. There's so many other good grocery options too, Julio.
Can you imagine sitting in your like wheeled like your office chair with the wheels on it, right? And then going choo, like not choo choo, that's a train.
Choo choo.
Beep beep, beep, vroom vroom, and then
those are sounds cars make, yes.
That's great.
Looking as an aside, if you guys are looking for good grocery solutions, I've really been liking Misfits Market. We don't really talk about.
I love Misfits Market.
It's very cute. It's very like, hey, we have local stuff. Pick your stuff. We're gonna send you a box full of stuff. That's it. That's all. Yeah. Goodbye. It's not like you're not worrying about the Instacart person going around the store and is this the right thing? Is that the, I don't know.
I love you screaming at the user like you're like an old dad. Hey, we have stuff.
We got stuff. Bye. Literally, the Misfits Market box is a pile of stuff. They don't put it in bags. They don't. It's just like all your fruit, all your veggies, all together. Yeah. Here's a box for cold stuff. It is the best online grocery thing I've seen so far, and I don't feel bad about it because it doesn't involve like a minion doing the grunt work that Julio wants to do virtually. You know, so hey, that's kind of cool. Let's move on to stories from around Engadget. We've got a bunch of the stuff this week. Nathan Ingram finally got to review the new Sonos, what do you call it? The spatial audio speakers. The Era 300 and Era 100. The Era 300 got a score of 80. It seems like it sounds good, but he's not fully sold on the like spatial audio-ness of it. The Era 100 got a score of 88. And Nate says it improves on the Sonos One in just about every way. And I am very intrigued by the Era 100. So what do you you were thinking about getting speakers at some point, Trillin? Like, are you looking at any of these, either of these?
My main problem with the speakers that I currently own is the Bluetooth sync. Not Bluetooth sync, the Wi-Fi sync. So sometimes they're not good. But
you will not have that problem with Sonos. Yeah.
So I might look into these.
The one good thing about Sonos is that they're syncing and their like multi-room syncing is like rock solid. So yeah, this would be the thing.
Well, I meant more them staying connected to my Wi-Fi, but yes, we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm intrigued by the Era 100 just because I do like the idea of cheaper speakers. It is $250, but Nate says it sounds pretty good, and for people who are running current Sonos setups, like we've talked about this before, but if you have a Sonos Arc, if you're lucky enough to have the Sonos Arc soundbar, that is a Dolby Atmos thing. These Era things, having them as your rear speakers would be a huge kind of improvement there. Sounds really cool. And in other stuff around Engadget, Chris Abell wrote about Recce's smart snow goggles. That sort of add AR. They add an AR view on top of your goggles while you're on the slopes. This is something I have never done. we'll probably never do. But it seems cool, judging from the promo video they put up there. Like there's a promo video. Yeah.
I edited this piece and I can tell you a little bit more. Carissa's describing it was so funny. So okay, there's a little like 1-inch-ish screen above the nose bridge area that you can keep looking up at, and it tells you things like your distance traveled, elevation. It's got features that can tell you where your friends are and how far away they are from you. Cool. They're also wearing these goggles. Yeah. So for Carissa, who goes skiing with her husband a bunch, for her, she was like, she tends to like zoom down the slope, whereas her husband kind of takes his time. So she'll be like at the bottom of the slope waiting for him to catch up, and she can see his number tick down towards her, which is nice, right?
That's cute.
And then exactly. And then it's also when you can use the screen to see a notification sometimes, which I don't think a lot of people will be doing while they're zooming down a slope. But you can also just turn everything off and just have it display the time. So it's a clock, right? And according to Carissa, this line in her article really made me laugh. She goes, it's better than like, constantly taking out your phone, or she doesn't wear a watch, so it's not, or also better than stupidly shouting,
hey
Siri, tell me the time, especially when you're like scrolling. Again, it's surrounded by wind noise. You're like, hey Siri, what time is it? The mental image of Carissa doing that.
From all the shouting. There's a video.
Yeah, I was trying not to say that. Yeah.
That kind of shows this. The actual display is very stupid simple. Like it is simple pixel graphics. It's like it is a black and white pixel display that just shows you stuff. You see the battery meter. It looks like an old school watch, or old smartwatch. Kind of useful. I have friends who are crazy enough to love the cold and the winter and the snow, and they have been waiting for smart stuff like this. So it seems that this is a sort of like good use of augmented reality, because you're doing something that's really physically demanding, and you're getting information, and you don't have to like make life harder for yourself. This is useful stuff. So I want to see more stuff like this.
Hell yeah.
What is the sort of like, you do a lot of working out, Trilin. Do you want a heads up display like goggles that will track your movement and the speed of your fists as you're hitting the punching bag?
I don't want to wear anything on my face when I'm working out, unfortunately. So on my watch, though, it's been helpful when I do my HIIT workouts we have cardio days and strength days. On strength days, it doesn't really matter. On strength days, it would be nice if like I was working out on my own to count my reps. That's something I'm still waiting for. I think some devices do that, but not very accurately. On cardio days, you wanna see your heart rate. So like that's where the Apple Watch has come in very handy lately, where I can see very clearly. I'm like peak heart rate, like max heart rate, like, okay, good. To have it on a heads up display would be nice, but I wonder if it might be distracting. I don't know.
Maybe.
It might be. So it depends. Again, I don't wear anything on my face when I'm working out. If there's some other way to have the information in my eyeballs all the time, it would be great. I'd be like, oh, okay, 12 reps, stop now. Like, but my trainers would never let me stop at 12, It would be cool.
I always row. Yeah. You could have like a virtual fight or something, or virtual training, like battle with somebody. Like
there's so many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good like VR workouts that I can't wait for us to dive into.
Like I've seen,
and that's
VR,
the problem.
The VR headsets are so big, but if you could have just the goggles and get like this, the version of somebody in front of you, get like Mr.
Would be nice.
I'll mention John Wick 4 later, but if you could get Mr. Donnie Yen to be in front of you and like you practice,
like that episode of Black Mirror, the Street Fighter one.
The Street Fighter one is really cool, but that one is more straight up VR. But that one also goes places. Let's move on to what we're working on. I reviewed Acer's glasses-free 3D gaming laptop, the Predator Helios 300 Spatial Labs Edition. I did not like it. So
I heard.
go read my review about that.
Our score is 59, y'all. It's
our score is 59.
One of our lower scores, yeah.
This is a point where I did have to tell Acer, like, hey, I'm so sorry, but this sucks. Let me know when it's better. Because it's glasses free 3D, and the whole thing about that, you've probably experienced some of these, Sherlyn, is when it has to track your eyes, it's also spitting out two images at the same time. So they're using like these polarized displays that are projecting two things simultaneously. They're both being spit into your eyes at slightly different angles to give you a sense of depth. And for me, that is just like headache. That is trying to focus on a magic eye puzzle while also playing God of War or something, or racing in Forza Horizon 5. And it's not really
Too
fun.
much.
It's not really fun. It is weird. It kind of distracts from the experience. I think like some of it worked well. Like God of War looked like there was more depth. It was kind of cool. But this laptop is limited to a 4K 60 hertz screen. It doesn't go to the high refresh rates you want in a gaming system, even though it has some decent hardware. It starts at $3,500. And I'm just like, why does this exist? I understand why Acer does this stuff for like professional computers. Maybe somebody working with 3D models would want to pay for this tech to do some weird 3D stuff. But no, gamers, no, nobody needs this. Put on a 3D headset, put on a VR headset if you want to see some 3D models, and it would still look better. So was not a fan. This is one of those weird experiments. Acer tends to do this. They did that. They did a gaming laptop with the weird hinge. The screen would just like flip all the way around. I reviewed that. Did not like that very much either.
The swivel one? Okay.
Yeah. Acer loves to try new things. I'm just like, buddy, calm down. Just give me an inexpensive and powerful gaming laptop, and I think that is good. Sherlyn, what are you working on?
So I'm so close to finishing the Halo Rise review, y'all. It's going to be up this week or next, so that's great.
Has it been months?
It's actually,
you've been talking about this for months.
but weeks, maybe 1.5 months of it actually being on my working on. It's we're shooting the video today, which means the video will go up on Monday, and the written part is basically done too, so we're just gonna it's coming. The reason it got sidetracked a little is we spent quite a lot of time this week shooting this new video. It's coming out tomorrow. I cannot wait for y'all to see it.
Okay.
This year at Engadget, we're doing a few different things with our videos. We're trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about our approach and have more fun. Hopefully the result is more entertaining videos for you. Yeah, and I can't wait for you to watch this. This is a video we're calling Breaking Bard. It's fun. It was fun.
Wow. I do wonder what that's going to be about. Sounds cool. Okay.
If you have had questions about AI and the limits of the Bing and Bard chatbots as they stand today, tomorrow, go look at our YouTube channel. I've already watched the finished video. I'm excited. This is fun.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so let's move on to our pop culture picks. What do you have this week?
So again, picks. This was always just Engadget picks, not pop culture picks. Today I don't have a pop culture.
Whatever, man. What's your pick?
No pop culture pick for y'all. So I think people who follow me on Instagram or Twitter know that I've been dealing with some mental health, self-esteem, whatever sort of issues lately. It's been hard, and a good motivational Instagram post can really help. So today I am recommending, there's so many out there. You can follow whoever you want. I've found We the Urban, the Instagram account We the Urban, to be kind of like nice. It's got daily sort of affirmations. I don't know if you call them affirmations. They're just daily reminders. It's like 9 things you need to, or maybe like it's like someone needs to hear this today as a cover image, or like 9 things to know today. And then it will like give you some reminders of how to not to be too harsh on yourself, or like value your own self. It's okay to put up boundaries if you need. It's really nice. The graphics are also very aesthetic. Very clear, it's just very straightforward, but when the power of the message is the words, then it doesn't need to be too fancy schmancy. So I was actually going to talk about something else too, which I only thought about last night, so we don't have video for this necessarily, but there's this new series on Netflix called Wellmania, and it stars, or it's from Celeste Barber, who is known for her Instagram content making fun of celebrities. I think her Instagram is hilarious. However, the series I have heard is cringe. So that's sad.
There's a fine line between social media, like mastering it, and true cringe, and it's a shame. So the funny thing is that I came across this from, because my gym, the gym I go to is F45. So F45 is an Australian thing. Celeste Barber is also Australian. So there was like a team up. So yesterday we were all in class. Can you explain this? What is going on?
Yeah.
Because when you and Matt Smith start talking about fitness stuff, I'm like, what language are you speaking? What is going on?
Yeah. I know. F45 stands for functional 45. Basically, it's like 45-minute classes of whatever. Sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's cardio, sometimes it's
45
hybrid.
minutes, man. Okay.
Yeah, and it's all circuits. It's all circuit based, so it's like three sets of 40 seconds on, rest of 20 seconds in between, or sometimes it's 55-second long sets, and those are terrible. So then there's these big displays in front of the class, and you look at what to do, and then you move station to station to station, and the screens in front of the class guide you, right? Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what happened this week, right? Wellmania and Netflix teamed up with F45 to come up with this Wellmania themed workout.
Sure.
And it was the weirdest thing because it was just Celeste Barber with the demo person showing how to work the exercise itself. And then she's like doing these like weird activities and she's like flailing about and whatever, because she's making fun of people who work out, which is kind of weird, right? Why would you make fun of people who are working out during a workout class? But anyway, and then the class ended with a meditation and it was just her going, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and then she falls asleep. And we're like, I guess that's comedy, but it doesn't.
We're here to work. We're here to work out.
Yeah. What was intriguing to me, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, is that it seems to be a new business model for at least F45. Can you imagine in Barry's Boot Camp or in Theory, they all started showing you these ads.
They're ads. They're ads. They're partnered ads, basically. And you have to
they definitely had to have been paid by Netflix. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I guess that's the new way. What if Peloton? Yeah. What if Peloton was like, during your treadmill workout, here's Ding Tai Fung dumplings. I don't know.
Like, R.I.P. Ding Tai Fung guy. Yeah.
R.I.P. Yeah. Right? Like there's another avenue. Your eyeballs are always.
This sounds like hell, Sherlyn. This sounds like I sign up to do this one thing. I have 45 minutes to really empower myself and make myself strong, and I got to watch a Netflix ad for a stupid TikToker show.
Yeah,
that would be furious.
Pretty cringe.
Oh my god. Yeah. Did they warn you, or did they just start playing this?
We knew something different was happening because the class name on our app.
And they locked all the doors. Yeah.
Well, our trainers were there with us, and they did. They supported us through it all. It was good.
They should give it. That class should be free. Like, to be honest, if they're going to do that, that class should be free for that week.
This is true.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention, Sherlyn?
I'm good. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. That's good. I'm glad I asked about F45 because there are all these things I have to learn. I need to just get out the house and be able to do a run.
Yeah,
I just need to do things. Anyway,
let's
talk about pop culture because I can at least sit at night and watch things. Yes. That's easier for me. I reviewed Apple's Tetris movie. That's the reason we had that interview at the beginning of this episode.
Yes.
It's fine. I think it's fine, but it's messy, and it's kind of I could see why a lot of the tech press and a lot of people are just straight up trashing this movie, because I think tonally it is all over the place. If you look at the trailer for it, it seems like a fun, Soviet era spy romp about Tetris, and that's kind of what it was. Like, getting the rights of Tetris, it was a game created by Alexei Pajitnov in the USSR, like in Moscow at that time, and it was not easy to get stuff out of there. And this one guy, Henk Rogers, a Dutch-Indonesian businessman who was based out of Japan. He was also known for making Japan's first RPG is a thing. So this guy's really interesting. And I got to, we talked with both of them. They're both super smart folks. But Henk Rogers he encountered the game during CES. And I was like, oh, you're just like us. You found a thing at CES and you got obsessed with it. And this was like CES, in the mid 80s.
Which
I was like, far before your time, Sherlyn.
Wow.
Far before.
Okay, I was like, Tetris at CES.
Tetris at CES. CES has been around for a while, but anyway, he licensed it from one company, and it turns out after a certain amount of time, it turns out the company he licensed it from, I'm trying to get the name of it now, did not actually have the Spectrum Holobyte. Spectrum Holobyte initially thought it had the rights to Tetris in America. He licensed that, and turns out no. And the person that sold Spectrum Holobyte those rights basically just had a fax from the Soviet government saying, yeah, we will think about licensing it to you, but it was not an agreement. So this movie does kind of cover that, and I think that part of it is kind of interesting because it involves British billionaires who also had certain rights to it, and were one of the guys Roger, is it Roger Maxwell? Roger Maxwell or Robert Maxwell, one of the Maxwells. Robert Maxwell is a British billionaire, and his he was known for I think stealing a bunch of money, and his whole empire crumbled. But he went to Mikhail Gorbachev to finagle the rights to Tetris, at the same time that Hank Rogers was kind of managing it. It is a really interesting story. It also involves the debut of the Game Boy. There's a scene in this movie where Hank Rogers enters a room. He signs an NDA. Somebody playing Howard Lincoln, former Nintendo of America president, is there, and they pull off a veil of something. It's just a Game Boy connected to a debug unit, and it's it is treated like this holy thing. It's like they're approaching the Holy Grail, and it's yeah, that is probably what the Game Boy was like if you first encountered it in the 80s. So there are some things I kind of like about this, and there is some inherent drama here. I just feel like this movie tries so hard to be a spy thing too. There's a car chase. There was never a car chase. There was a Russian spy who was sort of trying to romantically frame Hank Rogers. That never happened. We didn't need all this because the actual history is kind of compelling on its own. This movie also tries too hard. There's pixel graphics everywhere. Stylistically, I feel like it just doesn't really settle on what it wants to be, but it is entertaining. Now, I think some people will be fine with it. There was one movie reviewer who had admitted in his review that he had never heard of Tetris before.
Whoa,
I think the entire
what?
internet was
Even I.
Who are you? Are you an alien from another planet?
Not to be ageist, how old was this person?
Yeah, he's an older guy. So Pete Hammond from Deadline, his subject line or headline for this movie is Taron Egerton is sensational in video game origin story that plays like a nail-biting Cold War spy thriller. He admitted to never hearing about Tetris before, and I feel like a lot of people were just who are you? How is there a rock you live under? Is there a hyperbaric chamber that you just emerge from to review movies once in a while, but never actually engage with any other culture? Tetris is a pretty big deal. I think this movie, at the very least, understands that Tetris is a big deal. I think it could have been so much more. There are other things you could look at, and maybe my main takeaway is if this gets people more interested in the broader impact of Tetris and what the game means. I like Tetris. I've played a lot of Tetris. There's a BBC documentary called Tetris from Russia with Love that is very, very good. Dan Ackerman, the CNET reporter, wrote a book called The Tetris Effect. And there's also a graphic novel called The Games People Play that I've heard really good things about. So
I've heard that one. Yeah.
There are so many other ways to engage with the Tetris origins. I'm just sad that this movie didn't quite hit it. I would have loved a Halt and Catch Fire style version of the Tetris story. And that's a show for you, by the way, Sherlyn. I don't know if you've watched any yet, but I
heard
really
of it.
Yeah. I really like Halt and Catch Fire. Get past that wonky first season because it gets really good. But yeah, Tetris just doesn't really hit those marks. So there's that. Also briefly, just want to mention Ted Lasso is back. I forget if we've mentioned it. And Shrinking, the other show from the Ted Lasso creator. They're both on Apple TV Plus. They're both very, very good. And I would recommend Shrinking to you, Sherlyn, because it's entirely about a therapist and kind of how they're
I was going to talk about it this week too, and then I saw
up?
you had dropped it in. That's why I had to scramble to find the Instagram thing. But yes, you're right. Yeah.
You digging it?
Yeah, go on. It's been on my list. I've been putting off my Apple TV stuff, especially Ted Lasso and Shrinking. I was going to watch it last night and talk about it today, but I can't because it's I had stuff I was doing. I told you I went to bed at 3 because I was still working. Julio and our live stream producer says that him and his wife could not finish the season after having given Shrinking a shot.
I'm not gonna give any.
It might not be for everyone. Yeah. It's definitely something that I am interested in because it's about shrinking. Yes, it's
about therapists and sort of also the problems therapists themselves can have, but also I think it's a very sweet show about friends helping each other get past grief and a father trying to reconnect with their daughter. It is compelling, but it's more like a dramedy. It's more like a comedy that is really dramatic at times, sort of like Ted Lasso actually, but it doesn't have the sort of the main character is not Ted Lasso, right? The main character is not this super happy, really positive American guy. The main character is Jason Segel, and he's kind of a dumpy, sad dude, which is a character he plays quite a bit.
As he usually plays.
Did you ever see Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Yes.
I love
fairly
that.
recently too.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best like rom-coms made
I like
in
Kristen
the last
Bell.
decade. It's very, very sweet. So anyway, Ted Lasso and Shrinking, both very good. And I forgot to mention this, but John Wick 4 is out, and I don't know if you've heard Shalin, but our boy, we've talked about him before, Donnie Yen plays a central role in
he's
John
amazing.
Wick 4, and he's so good. He is so
He's
good. It
incredible.
is so good to have Donnie Yen on American screens. He's 60 years old, and he's still kicking ass.
Yeah.
Love it.
I like that. There was this story I heard about him having had to convince the Star Wars movie producers to make his character less of a trope.
Yep.
And I thought that was really
Very
nice of him
sweet.
to stand up for that. Yeah.
I love it. And also weird that he is once again playing a blind warrior. He's playing a blind assassin in John Wick 4, but they do so many good things with it. Guys, if you like action, if you want like the greatest action experience of your life, Sherlyn, I think you'll appreciate this because you like Hong Kong action movies too. This movie is like 3 hours long of pure bliss, just pure, unadulterated. Oh my God, I don't know how they did this. Somebody just fell down 200 stairs. I don't know how any of this was made. It is a beautiful film. It's a wonderful film. And it's practically perfect. So check out John Wick 4, everybody.
Nice.
I think you can wrap.
All right. For those in the live chat, I know we haven't taken a break to talk to you at all today, but we will very shortly. I'm just going to record this part for the audio podcast, but we are not saying goodbye to you just yet. Well, that's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you, as always, for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. This podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, at Devindra at Mastodon.social on the Elephant site, and I podcast about movies and TV at The Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
If you need me, I am at Sherlyn Low on Twitter, but today I will plug my Instagram because I might be less and less active on Twitter, and my Instagram is just Sherlynstagram because I'm smart. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts.
Okay, we're clear. Speaking of John Wick Chapter 4, huge RIP to Lance Reddick. Jeez.
I miss.
That's so sad.
I loved Lance Reddick so much. Okay, loads and loads of stuff I saw during the chat. I wanted to say hi to everyone that joined us, but I didn't get to shout out. Killer BG, what a great name. C and KP have both been giving us great comments today. Darren N is here. Reek Havoc, REEK, Havoc, nice name. Hi to Daniel Diaz. D-Man said something about how I live at Apple Park. I was like, okay. I wish, because it's actually really nice there.
I don't know. Yeah.
Not sure if you banked any. Hi to Ruindig. I know that's one of our regulars. And Hamad, a dude named Charlie. I'm just scrolling. Sir Holmes. We got a lot of frequently seen names today. Hello. I love that. Where was did you have anything banked, Ben? I got distracted because we currently have 69 live viewers. Nice.
What's significant?
Shazat said hi. I don't know. It's just nice, right?
Nice. Hello.
Nice.
There's it's like conversations all over the place. It is true that Keanu Reeves barely speaks at all in John Wick 4, which is kind of funny. Like he has like several dozen lines apparently, but the movie is mostly him kicking ass. Love it.
Yeah, it's fight choreography, right? That's what I figured. The KP, when we were talking about Overdrive and, shortly following the discussion on NSA, said that they prefer Z Library and then, quote, FBI open up.
Okay.
I have no idea what that is about, but okay.
Pretty
Darren
sure.
Ensis.
I mean, from context clues, that means that the Z Library is mostly like pirated.
It's bad.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Darren ends at Metaverse. It was a huge mistake. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I like this comment from Sir Holmes. We need to focus on what aliens worked on, not AI, but actual life creation. How do you know it didn't start out with AI?
Tell us. Tell us about the aliens.
How do you? How do we define life?
I'm pretty sure that was the plot of Mass Effect.
Or Prometheus, or so many.
Just like so many
things. Steven Spielberg's AI. Come on.
Freddie
Oh yeah, I
says,
said Wellmania, not Romania. Whoops. Sorry.
Freddie says, Lamo, I saw your IG story for the basketball score, Sherlyn.
Yes. Sorry. Whoops. Yes, hi Freddie. I did. The score for the Knicks game at some point last night was 69 versus something else, and I went nice, and I took a photo. It was great.
Again, man.
Yeah.
So Gazi
No,
Boy
I get-
1989 said, I think while we were talking about AI, I want a Furby that cooks me dinner. Okay. I have also seen a Furby that looks like it's a roast beef sandwich, but the problem is that Furbies have always
That's what I heard the
me.
first time, by the way.
And so, like, I'm not sure if you're saying that the Furby would make dinner for you or make you into dinner, because I think that
you just want a dinner
both
robot.
possibilities are
Both
equally
possible.
likely.
I love the opening sequence of Megan, the AI, the killer robot movie. But Megan is all about those little like Furby like things that are like intelligent to a certain point, and those things kind of exist. There are other toys that do that now. That's just what I think about now.
Shazad says, any news from Alien Musk this week? I think we did talk a little bit about that. That letter from the Future Institute.
We did talk about the Future Institute thing.
So that's not really Elon Musk, but hey, how about Sherlon? Anyway.
Sure. I mean, KP points out you both like 69 jokes, so you know.
Yeah, true.
Oh no!
Clearly,
Yeah.
you have the same.
Oh
awful
no!
sense of
Look!
humor, so-
Not only me, a lot of I'm sure Obama like 69 jokes. I don't know. I'm trying to like associate myself with better
Straight to
people.
Obama.
Julio in our chat goes, "What's next? Fart jokes." I will have you know, I've already been making a lot of fart jokes. You just haven't seen any of them live yet. They're just all in.
If you hang out enough with
life.
Shirley in person, there's a lot of fart jokes. Yeah.
My gym friends who like are the station behind me get the brunt of it, both the farts and the fart jokes. So
Makes sense. So
Makes
Christopher
sense.
Reardon is talking about like banning TikTok equals Patriot Act 2.0.
Sort of.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing that I was so passionate about when we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about this as a possible topic to cover. It's just like there is a ton of misinformation about the Restrict Act, like clashing with the fact that the Restrict Act itself is a very poorly written law.
It's really open. I feel like that's the issue. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
very specific.
So if it were to be passed as it was written now, it just leaves way too many doors open to be used by used however lawmakers really see fit, and they're like, oh well, you know, it's kind of like vague, so I'm going to bend the understanding of the law toward exactly what I want it to be. It's call your reps about this. Just make sure that this does not pass.
I'm sorry, I was not laughing at what Ben was saying. I was laughing because Declan Flynn said fart jokes and 69 jokes don't go together, and you know what? And then Dude Name Charlie goes, unless you're into that.
Yeah, no shame. No shame.
Oh no. Yeah, no, you know what? Yeah, some
Yeah,
people
whatever.
really and you know. There's terminology all about that stuff too. So you know.
Yep. Indeed.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy
happy
Thursday. It's near the end of the week. I'm out of here. I'm out of juice.
All done. Oh man, I've taken
I still have
Fridays
so
off
much
for the
work to
past
do.
month. And that was a very wise decision.
Yeah, I wish I could.
a
I
whole
need to
bunch
put
of
it in the
days.
calendar. I will be going to be off
your
for a
days.
couple weeks, or actually 1 week at the end of April. So there will be no me on the Engadget podcast
Enjoy.
that week.
Enjoy.
The first week of May. My bad. I will be at a wedding where I'll be singing. It'll be great.
Oh, fun.
Hey.
Yeah. it'll
So
be super
during
cool.
the AI chats, user C says, sounds like someone is 6 months behind in AI research. with
Yeah,
self-driving
exactly.
cars and wants to be the first one to claim AI. I think it was accurate for Dev to say,
Yeah.
like, this is a schoolyard sort of thing of like, come on, guys, no, like, you know, make it fairer, basically.
C
but
had a
also,
lot
like-
of good comments during that conversation, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I also agree that maybe there should be a pause. One, for just development around what we currently have in
Yeah.
terms of GPT-3 or GPT-4. Let's figure out like how it can interface with other bits of technology. Can I get GPT? Like I can't quite get GPT-3 to make a calendar event or something on Google yet.
Yeah.
So let's see like all the different ways that it could be used, and then in seeing the ways that it could be used, we can also start to discover the ways that it could possibly end up bad.
For sure. I think the main thing is we need regulatory bodies that move as quickly as these companies are moving in AI. And that is the hard part because government is slow.
Government is slow on purpose, which is partially a good thing, but also like the thing that we were talking about at the top, talking about how maybe AI pause, maybe not, it's ended up being bunk. And then the literal second story was why we can't have decent AI regulation.
Yeah.
Because even if the government is slow, you still need background information. You still need to not be asking questions about whether or not AI connects to your Wi-Fi.
I think there's a difference between being slow and being like outdated and uninformed. I think being slow, or more accurately taking a measured approach, taking time to think as opposed to being too reactive, is good. But then, like Ben was saying, that like everyone's we don't have the people who are informed. You need to be up to date and up to speed, but then take a measured approach based on the information you have.
For sure. I feel like something bad will unfortunately at some point happen around these AI products, and it's until that happens, like nobody's going to be like, we should really think about how quickly we're moving, so we're a very reactive country.
Yeah, the thing I find really, really spooky is the idea of like, okay, you had like people who were really into QAnon, and QAnon ended up being, an IT administrator from somewhere on the East Coast.
Wait, is that true?
Yes, there were a number of articles talking about who ended up, because it ended up being some of the like admins of the 4chan spin-off that a lot of the Q drops ended up on. But okay, so people are like really adept at finding meaning in places where you wouldn't otherwise have meaning. What happens when that is superpowered by a generative, like, machine learning thing?
I mean, there's that. Yeah. What if people start worshiping this thing too? Like, we've already had one guy trying to rescue it, and it's like, then what? Then what's happening? This is bad.
Then you literally made up your own golden calf. Like, that's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
May I just point out that Julio had a special request, but then they just said that he was being sarcastic. So I don't know if it's a real request now. Julio, can you tell me if you want me to queue up what you said? Because I can. But if not, we don't have to. Julio says, when possible, can we go back to talking about farts? I have the Nerf This Diva fart queued up. Thanks. But yeah, he's not going to play it. I'm thinking, what, Diva as an Overwatch Diva, or what are we talking about?
I don't know. Yeah, the Diva in Overwatch. Speaking of crazy AI, by the way, I just want to shout out an article by Pranav Dixit over at BuzzFeed News. He wrote about an uncensored chatbot. It's called Freedom GPT. It is everything you're terrified of. So yeah, it will say the N-word. It will talk about whatever politically it wants. Like it praise Hitler. Wrote an opinion piece advocating for unhoused people in San Francisco to be shot. It has done all these things. It's just a large language model, but that is already a thing. Freedom GPT sounds terrifying. Thanks to Pranav for covering that. Ugh.
So yeah, just to follow up on the QAnon thing, because you mentioned that you didn't see anything about it. So I saw a number of articles like toward the middle and end of last year that talked about these two guys, Jim Watkins and Ron Watkins, their father and son, who like Jim Watkins is the operator and owner of 8kun, which is one of the 4chan spin-offs, and a lot of people a lot of like journalists doing research into this think like, yeah, these guys are probably just QAnon themselves. And
hey, go on.
No, go on. You go.
I just wanted to make sure there's something I forgot to include for the episode proper, so I wanted to make sure to record it now.
Oh yeah, what do you want to record?
We got an email from Katie about Google Bard. Katie was also playing around with Google Bard and using it to do some iPhone comparisons. And she sent along a screenshot saying that, Google bar is definitely shrunk, kind of like in reference to our previous episode. So thank you. I want to say thank you, Katie, for sending the email. And as a reminder to everyone listening and watching, you can send us emails, podcast@engadget.com. We love getting your emails. I also just saw that we got an email from someone, just asking if our 2 separate podcast feeds for the morning edition podcast versus the weekly one, were they somehow mixed up. So we are going to look into that. Apparently there's a Google Podcast issue that we will look into. We also got another email from someone recently that I can't remember off. Oh no, I didn't get another email. I got a shout from a fellow Singaporean, a Singaporean listener of the Engadget Podcast, which is nice. Thanking me for the correct pronunciation for the CEO of TikTok, which was
it's just really
nice to see.
You all like getting very annoyed about it too. Yeah.
Right. We Singaporean people are like, is he a good representative of us?
Right.
Where is he? No. Yes. And then finally back to the live stream. You go ahead. Sorry.
I asked being AI to tell me a fart joke, but do you want to hear that? Do you want to do your thing?
I want to hear the fart joke.
We'll hear that. Yeah, we'll hear that.
Okay. So first I told it to tell me a good fart joke. It started typing something, then said, sorry, that's on me. I can't give you a response right now. What else can I help you with? So I asked it again. And it said, here's a good one. Why don't farts graduate from high school?
Why?
Because they always end up getting expelled. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's
pretty
not
good.
So bad.
No, that's not bad at all. Yeah. Speaking of chat, dead. The stream was dead. Speaking of ChatGPT, just now, Julio had a very fire take. Julio says catgpt.dog is where it's at. Right, meow. Catgpt.dog.
It literally just meows.
Right,
okay,
meows.
So last question for you, Sherlyn. What are you going to be singing at this wedding?
I put it in the chat. I will be singing At Last, about my own rendition of At Last by Etta James.
Oh, wow.
For my friend's wedding as she walks down the aisle.
Cool.
She's the one who chose the song. I would just go sing it. So,
amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so chat, if you don't have any other burning questions or things that you want to talk about, remember we can talk about...
listen to the audio episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Listen to the audio episode because this is really just a really cool opportunity to talk to like legendary games people.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for listening. Chat, thank you for being here. You make us smarter. You make us just think about things that we didn't think about before. The stream and the show are better for having you here. If you've stuck around this long, you know, because you are a tech enthusiast, that we live in a world of algorithms. So like supercharge us, help other people find us, give us 5 stars on iTunes and Google Podcasts, because that honestly helps like a silly amount. Tell a few friends about the show because that helps too. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks
to Julio, Luke, and our captioner. Thank you.